I recently sat down with Barkan teacher Jo Davis, and we talked about her entire process. First being a yoga student, wanting to share what she had learned with the world, looking for a teacher training program that best suited her needs, did the teacher training program, and is now teaching yoga in her hometown of Houston 6-7 times a week. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jimmy Barkan, and I've been teaching hot yoga since 1981. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hit the notification bell, hit the like button anytime you're enjoying this video. So I've been certifying yoga teachers since the 1980s. I was certifying Bikram teachers back then, but it wasn't until about 2003 that I started my own Barkan Method teacher training programs. And by the way, if you're interested in taking the teacher training program course, there are links in the description below. We have live trainings and online trainings, 200-hour, 300-hour, 500-hour trainings. So people are asking me, what's the opportunity? If I do a teacher training program, what's the opportunity out there? And then I had the idea to interview Joanna Davis. She goes by Jo. So we're going to take you through the whole process, how she started out in yoga, how she found the teacher training program, and now out there teaching 6 times a week. So let's dive into the interview and you can see for yourself.
Well, I started doing yoga when I lived in Idaho. Actually, I was training for a marathon and I injured myself. And my physical therapist at the time recommended yoga as part of my physical therapy.
You were used to working out as an exercise-wise pretty hard if you're working. You said you were going for a marathon?
I was. I honestly didn't find a video that I liked, but I did find a yoga class at my local gym, at the Gold's Gym in Twin Falls. So I had an accident. I was hit by a motorcycle while I was riding my bike. I know, it was crazy. And a miracle that not only am I alive, but I walked out of there without any broken bones, but I had permanent damage to my muscles pretty much for the rest of my life. And I had a year of physical therapy in Idaho and was moving to Texas. And my physical therapist told me that I needed to be doing physical therapy 3 times a week or find a yoga studio that I loved and do yoga 3 times a week.
So now you moved to Houston, and tell me, what was your yoga experience there? What classes? You said that's when you started doing hot yoga because of the accident, right?
Yeah, when I moved to Houston, I was in a lot of pain, Jimmy. I was on medication. I was on muscle relaxers when it got really bad. And I was trying out studios. It was a Bikram school. It was part of the franchise before 2015. And it was a very much 90 minutes Bikram school. And I loved it. And I started to feel better. And then I was able to use less medication. And it took about 6 months of going 2-3 times a week. And I was off my medication. It was a miracle.
So now you're doing hot yoga. You have this miracle rehabilitation from your accident. It's really changing your life. What now brought you to make the decision that you wanted to start teaching yoga?
Exactly that. Honestly, exactly that. It changed my life. I thought I was going to have the rest of my life having this debilitating pain, and to have such a huge change in my life. And I loved it. It made me happy. It made such a difference in my life that my husband, my kids, when I went more than 2-3 days, because that was about my limit, 2-3 days without it, and my pain started coming back. My family noticed, and I'd get sent to the studio to go do it. I wanted to help people. I knew that I wasn't the only one. And for me, probably the biggest thing after noticing the pain relief was that it was helping me with my endeavors athletically. And I looked for years. I started looking probably around 2014, 2015, and I didn't find you or have a teacher mention you until around 2019. So Rohit, who substitutes at a couple of the studios that I've been to, he recommended you. And the reason why I asked him was because he didn't give, how do I explain this? So with the Bikram series, there's a set monologue, set dialogue is how they call it. And Rohit helped me whenever I take his classes. I would do better in the postures. I would learn something new. It was always new whenever he taught, and I loved that. And so when he recommended you and I looked at what your program was, I knew it was going to be perfect fit. So part of me discovering Jimmy Barkan and all things Barkan method was actually finding the online channel.
So now as Jo is looking for a teacher training program, she stumbled on the Barkan Method on-demand membership. And I have over hundreds of videos, classes, and tutorials, and now she used it as a reference to start to prepare for the training.
I don't know, the price was perfect. It was like a drop-in class. I had no problem spending the money. And then when I saw what was part of the membership, just the classes and how in-depth the extra features were with meditation, with posture clinics, with Sanskrit lessons, I was in heaven. Well, I had honestly already decided to do the teacher training program. I felt like I was just blessed to have that extra little bit before, but I've used it ever since. I've gone through the training program. I haven't canceled my membership because I still use all that information still. And doing the teacher training program, I actually went into Fort Lauderdale to do that with you in person, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it.
So now, what do you think the biggest benefit was of the teacher training program that prepared you to get out there and start teaching classes?
To have you mentor every step of the way, how we're delivering, how we're communicating our intentions as a teacher to the students. It was huge.
I talk about that, or actually I call it find your authentic voice section. So we break through that performance teacher voice.
Yeah, which all of us show up with every single time, right at the get-go. I can't tell you how many times I actually had sticky notes. I was at a rental place, a VRBO, and I had sticky notes all over the apartment, just all my little reminders: conversation voice, explanation, be authentic. But I've got to tell you, my students, even my students last night, I teach locally here, I had 3 new students and they came out and they loved it.
So now, how prepared do you think that you were to, after you finished the teacher training program right out of the gate, how prepared do you think you were to teach a class?
I was ready. I was ready in the fact that, every day, that's what we were talking about. What are your plans? What are you thinking about doing? What do we need to do to get you through to that plan? And I think that was something that I didn't realize how valuable it was at the time, but by the time I hit the ground running and started asking for auditions and talking to studio owners, I didn't realize the confidence that I had been gaining over time through the teacher training program.
So now the teacher training program is over and it's time for her to go out in the world and start to apply what she learned. So we talk about her teaching in the yoga studio and also developing a private class following. So now the teacher training program is finished. What did you do now? You go back to Houston. What was your process and starting to become a professional yoga teacher?
Right from the beginning, I had a plan and I followed through with my plan. I went and started talking to a studio owner here locally and asked to be auditioned, and I didn't get it. I didn't even audition because she was, I don't know if her schedule was full or if she was preoccupied with just life, but it didn't work out.
Okay.
But I started going to a different studio that I had been to previously and talked with the owner there, and she actually knew who you were and was really excited for her to be able to put me on the schedule. And that's how I got a job. Was just, I just kept looking. It took some time. It took a
And you
little
auditioned for her as well?
I did.
Okay. And then you got through the audition, and now tell us about you're teaching. Tell us about your experience now. How many days a week are you teaching there?
So I have a permanent spot on Wednesdays and I substitute, but Jimmy, I'm busy with other things as well with my yoga. I saw a need in the community for more classes, a different kind of schedule. And I, through the Hot Yoga Dome, was able to start a new business.
Tell people what the Yoga Dome is. People may not know what you're talking about.
You're right. So the hot yoga dome, and it has blown up through the last few years of
No
COVID.
pun intended.
No pun. Actually, it is kind of punny. It is really, it's a good one. So the hot yoga dome is a mobile hot yoga studio, and you just inflate it in your home. I like to set mine up in the garage. I'm in Houston. I've got a lot of humidity naturally. You can set
They
it
have
up
different
outside.
sizes, right? You can
They have different sizes. Mine fits 2 people comfortably. I can squeeze 3 in. There's studio sizes, Jimmy, like as big.
ones.
Yeah, just huge.
So you
just me.
People hire you, and then you bring the dome to their house, you inflate it, and off you go.
And it's private.
That's very entrepreneurial of you. That's for sure. So tell people on an average how many days a week you're teaching.
I teach about 5 to 7 times.
Wow,
a week.
That's great.
Yeah.
So tell everyone why you decided to do the Barkan method on demand 300-hour course.
I want to have that continuing education at my beck and call, at my fingertips. The history, it meant a lot to me to be able to have that just available. And not only that, but as I was starting to teach more frequently, I wanted the additional feedback from you. And that's part of the course. It's not just purchasing the course and having, online videos to watch, and that's it. I got personal feedback from you about how I was teaching, and it improved me. I feel like lightning fast. I have had students who have been practicing yoga for years ask me how long I've been teaching, and I'll say about 15 months, and they're dumbstruck. They're like, what? I thought you would have told me 13 years.
Wow. You know what it is too? In the level 1 training, it's your first introduction to teaching in front of people. And it's very hard to get your authentic voice happening in that time. And I always tell people 6 months from now, when you start teaching on a regular basis, that's when my teaching is really going to make more sense. So now when you're teaching, and now you're having me coach you directly on the course while you're actually out there teaching, I think that's really what the big push was. I think that's really where it all makes sense, and you can find your authentic voice.
I still use the online membership to take my own classes. I haven't given up my own practice. So not only am I teaching 3 to 7
That's
times
really
a
important.
week,
A lot of people give up their practice when they start teaching. You got to keep that's the heart and soul of everything.
Exactly. And it keeps me energized and inspired and joyful about teaching. But as I'm taking your classes on the membership, I'm still learning. I'm still listening. I'm still taking in the information and then being able to make it my own through you.
Technology is amazing. I mean, I wish I had my teacher on the computer as much as I'm on the computer for other people, because that would be gold to have that information all the time there. It's really valuable.
Well, honestly, I took inspiration from you telling us when we were in the teacher training that you had a 2-year basically apprenticeship. Your teacher training was for 2 years. So I just feel like this has been my way of doing this
that
in a similar way.
Keep it going, keep extending it. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, I think your story is really inspiring. I think a lot of people are going to be inspired by your story. So thank you so much for donating your time and sharing your story with everybody else. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure I'm going to see you on the next live session of the Teacher Training Program and other workshops in Costa Rica and so on. But thank you so much, Joe. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Jimmy. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. So wasn't that interesting, listening to Joe's personal story from yoga student, doing a teacher training program, and now being an active yoga teacher? So that's our episode for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you're interested in the Barkan Method teacher training program, there are links in the description below. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments. I get to all the comments. And I thank you for joining me, and I'll see you at the next video. Bye, everyone.